Can I completely change my business and become unrecognizable in the next 90 days? If you feel like you're always falling short, like people who aren't necessarily smarter or better are always getting ahead, or like you're wrapping up the day feeling like you just haven't met your full potential, then hey, hi, me too. Most days I feel like I'm holding back and playing safe, which makes me the perfect victim for all of the YouTube videos telling me that I can finally live the life that I always dreamed of. Monk mode, rebrand your life, become unrecognizable. Is this really possible, or is this just the newest iteration of the self help genre, making us feel like we are not enough, we're always falling short, and we are in a perpetual state of trying to seek for perfect? Let's find out. This is also an invitation for you. If you would like to join me in changing your life and business, or life or business, for today's video, I'll be testing the Change Your Life in 90 Days framework, which is built on the book, The 12-Week Year, which is essentially using a quarter-based system to set shorter term goals to be able to move you forward in your life. So right off the bat, we're not doing anything super revolutionary here, but I think what really makes this potentially effective is the fact that we are really being hyper focused on a very minimal amount of goals, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let's take a step back and talk about why I want to film this video in the first place. So, first of all, I have been growing and building and living the life of an entrepreneur since 2016. So, we are getting ready to enter my ninth year as an entrepreneur, and I have really, really big goals. But what I've realized is that I have not been enjoying the journey as much as I would like to. I hold these big goals up and I have a lot of clarity on where I want to head. And because there's such big goals that are such a long term perspective, it means that almost every single day I end up feeling like a failure because I'm not actually achieving those goals. So, one of the things that I really want to do is I want to find a way to be able to enjoy the journey a bit more and realizing that this is an opportunity to really play by my own rules, to experiment, to do new things, to push boundaries. And I just don't want to take it all so seriously. I also feel like I'm constantly operating in this space of I externally seem like a very high achieving person, but internally I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like I am giving 80% instead of 100. And that 80% looks really good and helps me achieve a lot of things. But in the back of my mind and my heart of hearts, I'm always carrying around this feeling of if I were really brave enough to go all in, to really put myself out there in a bold way, what more could I achieve if I gave 100%? And maybe that is just a negative aspect of my perfectionism, but perhaps it's the opposite. Perhaps it's that perfectionism that is making me play it a little bit safer. And as a result, I'm not really reaching that full potential that I feel like I have within me. And I have big goals and I want to go all out and I want to play hard. Perhaps I'm a little bit scared. I'm scared of what it might mean to actually achieve the goals that I have. I'm scared of what it might take to make them happen. And that fear seeps in a variety of different ways. And so, why not take accountability to the extreme about making it very, very public? You know, we hear the accountability buddies types of things. So, hey, all of you that aren't watching, you are now in some ways my accountability partners. And if you're looking for accountability partner too, then drop a comment below and join me on this journey because it's happening in real time. But here's the thing. I'm not going to document all of this and invest a lot of time and effort into continuing this series unless I know that it's something that people are going to be interested in. So if you do like this video, if you do like this idea and you want to join along either in tackling your own goals or in rooting me on or just wanting to watch someone else go after and struggle with their own goals, then let me know. Give this video a like, drop a comment in about what your big goals are for the year. Give me some sort of indication that you want more of this. Otherwise, it's just going to be me doing this behind closed doors and going back to my regularly scheduled programming. So, this video in my mind is part journey, part diary, part do it together, part testing out the theory of whether it's really possible to change your life and business in 90 days. And one of the other reasons that I wanted to film this video is because most of the time, these videos are somebody from the other side. They are 90 days in the future and they just radically transformed their lives. And of course, me being someone who spent a lot of time on the internet, I am instantly skeptical of whether they did, in fact, do that thing. They really fail to share with us the trials and tribulations and struggles. They are just the guru, the shepherd who has seen the light and is now beckoning us to join them. So I thought, let's see whether that land of mystical rainbows and unicorns is real or nothing more than internet marketing hogwash. And hey, what if we actually did this together? What if we committed right now to changing our lives? In fact, maybe you want to pause this video for a moment and just think about what that scary goal is or that thing that's constantly ruminating in the back of your mind and join me or watch me, whatever your preference. So I'm thinking we do this together or you watch me do this. I check in periodically. We talk about what's working, what's not working. And of course, you'll want to make sure to subscribe so that you can continue to track this journey as well as get all of the awesome content that can help you grow your business and change your life. So let's see if it works. So Poppy in her video says that we have 3 steps, but I think that we actually need to break it down into 4 or 5 steps. Identify where you are, identify where you want to be, pick your priority, commit to a habit and doing it consistently, and spot potential obstacles and what you need to change. Spoiler, there is absolutely nothing at all revolutionary about this method. This is really just goal setting 101. I'm serious. There's no fancy tricks or tactics or new habit changing routines, nothing. This is identify what you want to change and then change it. But the part that gave me pause was a part where she talks about becoming a different person. She says that we need to strip ourselves of our old patterns, habits, and beliefs. And I think this idea is quite problematic because it's creating this idea that there is something inherently wrong with who we are right now or who we were that we need to divorce ourselves from. And that is just not how humans work. We can't just magically put past versions of ourselves in a box and pretend like they don't exist anymore. We are the sum of all of the experiences that we've had throughout our lives. And rather than trying to ignore or suppress or hide that, I think it's actually learning how to work with that, accept those parts of us, and be able to then use that to power forward. So, if you are wanting to follow Poppy's advice of becoming unrecognizable to a T, I would really suggest ignoring that particular point. I think that's where the really toxic self help BS starts to slip in and where you could find yourself in a bit of a problematic mindset. So rather than thinking about what I want to get rid of, I actually want to think about how I can find ways of building my confidence and feeling more empowered. Because at the end of the day, I'm eager to take risks and strides when I am feeling my most confident and most empowered. And so, my goal with this exercise is not to change who I was, but to build upon who I am. Another really important point that Poppy mentions is small changes often don't feel like change at all. That it's the compounding effect of these changes that add up. And I actually know this very much to be true because for the last year, I had a goal of monetizing my YouTube channel. And I would see all of these videos every time I logged into YouTube to do planning and research of get monetized in a week, get monetized in 90 days, how to blow up your channel, how to become a viral sensation. And the reality was that it was very slow, incremental change that sometimes felt like I was going backwards. Sometimes I felt like I was staying in place. And most of the time, I felt like I was failing. But really, at the end of the day, because I consistently showed up and I was consistently iterating and learning and trying to grow, without even hardly noticing it, I was well on my way to getting monetized over the last few months. And I just hit that a week or so ago. And it didn't feel like it was something that I knew would happen. In some ways, it almost felt like it surprised me and came out of nowhere because it was all these little things that built on each other. And then the momentum quite quickly over September, October, and November grew and catapulted me over that finish line to achieving that monetization hurdle. So, why 90 days? Poppy says that's because it takes 30 days to form a habit and then 60 days to reinforce a habit. I don't know if this is pseudoscience or if this is real science, but that's why we're choosing 90 days. I think it's also convenient because, of course, it is on that quarterly cycle. So I imagine that there is something to that. So, step one, she says that we need to do a life and business audit to evaluate where we currently are and then compare that to what our ideals would be. So, looking at and evaluating where we are in this moment, creating also a contrasting list of where we would like to be 90 days from now, or maybe even more than 90 days from now, and then starting to identify what needs to change in order to bridge that gap. This is where you can really run into trouble. And in my experience, has been one of the main things that keeps me from being able to achieve my own goals, which is that I do an exercise like this, and then I have approximately 1,000,001 things that I would like to change. And they're not just little things, they're massive things. And then I try to do all the things at once. And then I go about 3 days. And if you're anything like me, after those 3 days, all of those habits start to peter off. You feel exhausted and overwhelmed, and you're back to where you started on that first side of the column. So, the key here is to be really clear about what is that 1 to 3 goals that you are absolutely wanting to focus on for the length of this time, and being very laser focused and clear, and needing to then also perhaps put some to the side and say, that's not for now, that's for later. And then here is where things get interesting. Oftentimes, it's the things that we do outside of our business that has the biggest impact. So when we are trying to figure out what are those things that are going to have the biggest impact on getting us to that unrecognizable business and life that we long for and dream of, it's not always as obvious as it first appears. So let's use YouTube for an example. Let's say that my goal is to start generating 5 figures a month with YouTube. Now, a more obvious but not necessarily correct approach would be to say, okay, that means that I want to grow my channel to 100,000 subscribers. However, that does not necessarily yield that 5 figures a month revenue that I'm seeking. There are many different ways of being able to achieve that. And so I need to think about what is the way that is going to make the most sense, that's going to be the most sustainable, and that is going to be achievable for me. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that I'm committing to within this 90 days. I'm just using this as an example because perhaps rather than the obvious option of 100,000 followers, I actually need to learn how to sell better during my videos. Or maybe I need to develop a course, or maybe I need to pursue partnerships and more sponsorship opportunities. So there are many different ways that I can get to that 5 figure a month revenue. And perhaps actually where it starts is I'm realizing that I don't have the creative space to really be taking the time to thoughtfully plan and execute my videos. And so the real thing that I need to do more than all of those other tactical things is I need to figure out a way of being able to clear my calendar of distractions and achieve better focus and time that I can guard to commit specifically to my YouTube channel. So, this is where we really want to be spending a lot of time and thought and investigating and thinking about exactly what it is that we are wanting to do. So, some examples could be better sleep, journaling every morning, a fitness routine, just to get your brain straight. We also need to figure out in advance where potential failure points might be. For example, if this is something that you've tried before and you failed, why? If you've tried something similarly and it didn't work out, why was that? So we need to be really clear that we're not just setting these big goals and then hoping that things will work out for us. By seeing potential obstacles and failure points, then we can plan to avoid the likelihood of those happening this time around. So, what are you choosing? If you know, drop it in the comments below. Either way, make sure to subscribe so that you can stay tuned for the rest of this journey. In the next video, we'll be digging into the specifics of how to set this in motion, plus what I'm choosing, how I plan to execute it, and my game plan for changing my life. So, right this very moment, use this positive momentum, take out a piece of paper, open a Word document, start brainstorming and dreaming about what that big goal or goals or dream life or dream business might be. And I will see you in the next video. And in fact, I think right now I'm going to go ahead and do the same. I'm going to open my journal and start to get ready. I am so excited. Let's be weird and wild and crazy and make this next year incredible.